broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
I like my women single, I like my chicks in two.
Hey, what's up, everybody? You are tuned into AFTERBUZZ TV for Ballers, and I'm your host, Bamm Ericsen, and I would like to introduce my panel.
Hey, everyone, I'm Sofia Stanley.
And I'm Emile Ennis Jr.
And Cornelia, she's not here, so she will join us next week. So
but she's at the Burbank Comedy Festival, so everyone sent her positive vibes so that she wins, and she is funny and hilarious as she always is, because she is always our cold piece.
Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, we should do a cold piece in her honor.
No.
No.
I can't do it justice.
Yeah, I can't either. So, but I figured if we I would like to give a round of applause to Bella for finally leaving Ricky's ass. And can you cut me up just a little bit?
Can I give another round of applause?
Oh, for what?
Can I give a round of applause to the opening scene for the black, green, and gold Black Lives Matter sneakers?
I saw they slipped that in there.
I thought that was excellent. The way that they opened that scene, it did not, I don't think anyone missed it. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the point, and I really liked that.
Me too.
I loved it, actually. That's a better word.
Yeah, agree. Okay, so Bella comes back to get her things. Ricky's there, and he's like yipping and yapping, story changing. Please, I hope this is over between the two of them. I don't think it is, but I'm so sick of Ricky's. I won't say he's lying, but he's not. He's somewhere, like, you know, the whole term men are from Mars, and he's like he's in LA and Bella is in like Santa Clarita. I don't care about them.
I think I want to say it's over. I truly want to say it's over. I have to quote what she said, though, because I think what she said was perfect. After she returned the keys, she said, "You can't keep promising and apologizing and not changing. You're not evolving." And then she dropped, "The sad thing is you're no different than your father." But back to the previous statement, that's the problem. He's not evolving. Like, he's one of those people where after he graduated from college, did he graduate? Do we know?
Oh, that's a very good point. We don't know. We don't know if he, like, you know, entered the draft early.
But anyway, after he finished college football and then went to the NFL, it was like it wasn't really a transition or a time for him to grow. Just, oh, Ricky Jarrett's a star. Cool. And he never had time to actually grow up. He already has this beautiful girl. He's getting all these other women. So he still has a lot of growing to do. Hopefully this breakup with Bella will allow him to mature a little bit. But if she is planning on taking him back at some point, it has to be where she actually stays away at least for a year.
I completely agree with Emile. I'm going to actually play devil's advocate, not actually just for the sake of playing devil's advocate. I think that, I don't know why, I must have drank the Ricky Jarrett juice. I actually think there's an aspect of it that I actually don't think he's doing anything wrong. And part of the reason I don't think he's doing anything wrong is at the jewelry store when the young lady asked how long, you know, they had been going together, and they said 6 years. Mm-hmm. That means she's been dealing with this for 6 years. That means she's reinforced his bad behavior. So why is he to think that this episode is any different than any of the other times that they took a break? So in his mind, kind of evolving to not necessarily proposing, but at least offering a $400,000 apology in his mind was evolving. So I think that, you know, kind of to mirror what you're saying, there needs to be some actual difference. So the actual difference does, just like you said, Emile, it has to be that she's away for a longer period of time. But I actually put part of the onus on the chaos also on Bella.
That makes sense.
I think it has to be 50-50.
I agree with you. That was a great analogy. The only thing that I will disagree with is the fact that, yes, she put up with him for 6 years, but she wasn't stupid enough to marry him. And by him proposing with the ring and him not knowing,
he wasn't proposing though.
It
That's the funny
wasn't.
thing. No, he really wasn't.
Remember,
That's
that was
the
the-
irony of the situation. The irony of the situation is he wasn't proposing. That's why when she goes, "Oh wait, you really think you're ready for marriage?" He basically was like, "Oh crap, that's not what I thought I was doing." And that's why at the end he goes, "If you want to get married, we'll get married." That was more like the last ditch after she was leaving. He like literally didn't realize that that was an engagement ring. He's just thinking he's buying her bling.
Stupid.
That's actually shows how much he's actually not evolving. That he hadn't even evolved to the point where he wanted to marry her. He was really just giving her a $500,000 gift.
Okay, I took it slightly different way. I thought that was his way of trying to propose rather than do it the traditional way.
Okay.
Where, will you marry me? I thought it was just a lousy way. Okay. Well,
Hot mess.
yeah, it is. But she left, and so you don't think that she's gone for a while?
I mean, I hope not. I think she's beautiful. I think she's a really pretty girl on the show.
Yeah.
But beyond that, like, I think the only way I can see her staying around in this situation is it has to be we're not together, we're not having sex, but I will help guide you in this process. However, even that I think may be detrimental to what he needs because the fact that she's still around, he can't truly evolve. So I think she needs to go away for a while.
Well said, Emile.
Agree. And
Hope she has work in the meantime. Come back like season 3, but
Yeah. Yeah. Or like I hope that somehow she. I don't know. There's still, and I mean, this is maybe a prediction, but there's still ways that she could be involved in the show, even
yeah.
whether or not, you know what I mean. She's still obviously friends with the characters, as well as the fact that we never really fully understood what it is that she does beyond possibly being a painter. But again, I somehow think that there's some kind of a backstory with that she's going to be around, and I think that actually is possibly, if he's to evolve, that's what's going to make him evolve, because she's going to be around, but just not with him.
makes sense.
This is the perfect transition. She'll be around Julie to help her with her pregnancy.
True.
So that's a good way to keep her in for season 2. All right, so let's discuss Charles and Julie. I like them. Yay for Black Love.
I think we all do.
I'm just so happy for them. She's pregnant.
Let's cut to that too.
Right.
Let's just cut. We're in the cut and move today.
Why do I feel like I'm the buzzkill though? So I'll wait. Because I'm about to buzzkill.
Yeah.
What?
I thought it was odd. I was not ready for that.
Well, you're about to buzzkill?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so to me, I couldn't discern whether or not Charles, in fact, was 100% happy.
Okay.
There was something about his hesitation. Like, I couldn't decide if he was like, oh my God, this is so amazing that I'm so overwhelmed that it hasn't hit me yet, or if he kind of was like, oh, I didn't know that this is where I was going. Because to me, her being pregnant made sense with him working at the car dealership. Doesn't necessarily make sense with him trying to revive his football career. Because just because you have one bad practice doesn't mean it's over. And to me, one bad practice and he kind of articulates to his wife that it's over, she kind of accepts it and not like, okay, no, we're going to wake up tomorrow and like you're going to go back there and you're going to crush it. And instead of saying that, even though I think she's 100% supportive, she basically says, okay, I'm pregnant, which basically means, yeah, the plan B of you being home and being more of a traditional father, that's the way that we're going. He never really got to fulfill the totality of his dreams. I don't necessarily know if that right now is actually his dream, that he wants to be a dad.
I completely agree with both of you. Because there was this slight hesitation there. And at the end, we always wait till he's out of her eyesight and then we can see what his true reaction is. And then there is a reaction, I'm going to be a daddy. So it seems as if he's excited. I know she's excited about the pregnancy. She's a working woman, though. She's a doctor, right? So for her, in her mind, even though which I was surprised, I think the last episode I was one that said I didn't know she would truly be supportive of him going back to the football thing. So it was actually really pleasant to see how supportive she was of her husband. After he said that I had a back practice, and then she brings this on as an alternative of positive news, I don't know if that was quite...
Yes.
She was excited. I just don't know if, right, for his dream I don't think is to be a father. And if it was, not right now. Granted, I know there's like a timetable and everything. I just don't know right now. And especially since Ricky did that, or TTD is that his name, did that presentation. And we can go back to this in a second, but I think what really, in my mind, what I think really let Charles down is just think about let's just say we had our own show and we got Emmy Awards and stuff, right? And then all of a sudden the show gets canceled. Okay, the show's canceled, but then a couple of years later, they're like, "Oh, remember them from that show? Blah blah. Let's bring them back." And so somebody shows the highlight reel and everything. You get amped up. We're all rusty. So I feel like for him, he saw that whole reel and he got on the field thinking, "Okay, I'm the Black Swan.
Black Swan.
I'm the Black Swan. I can do this." And then it's a failure. So it wasn't just like going back to practice with a clean slate and you're failing. It was like, "Oh, all these expectations are on me, which would make me." It would mess me up more.
Completely.
So I think from seeing all that made it even harder to comprehend that he might not go back to the team. And then he found out the pregnancy news. And I'm with Sophia. I don't think that he's really excited. I think it's more he had to be excited for his wife.
I agree. I don't believe that he was ecstatic about his wife being pregnant. Quite as kept, Julie didn't seem all that ecstatic that she was pregnant, if you want to keep it real. She didn't seem... It wasn't... I've seen women respond a little more happier when they're pregnant. So I can't say that she was 110% happy. I would say maybe she was 75.
Yeah. Oh, and see, the funny thing is, I actually thought she was 100% happy, and the reason being is definitely when Jasmine was here in the studio, I felt like we got a much better idea of Julie's character, like the totality of her character. And this is gonna sound weird, but I feel like she's the type of woman who is like, yeah, let's not do the bridal shower because that's whack. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
She's like, okay, cool. Can we just like kind of drink and get drunk and not have to do the whole little stupid little tissue games?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? So I feel like she's gonna be a matter of fact. And that's what she was. She kind of was like, oh my God. So yeah, my period was late. Like totally like being random fact. And then she's like, pow!
Yeah.
It's positive.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I think that's just her personality. Like she's not gonna be that overly emotional, crying, whatever. She's kind of more, and I can't figure out a better word for this, but she's one of the guys. Does it make sense? She's like a guy's girl. So she's kind of more matter of fact, and that's why she said it kind of like, bam, here's the stick. It's positive, you're gonna be a daddy.
Yeah.
That to me is how she shows her excitement. If she actually kind of like cried and was overwhelmed or whatever, that to me wouldn't have been organic to her character. Because again, this is a woman who rode through a gated community. Does that make sense? Ran up into this house, and obviously we know that some scenes were edited, but like, kicked somebody, you know what I mean, in the foam room and went and grabbed her husband and then threw him in the pool. That woman wouldn't be gushing. That woman would have played the scene how she played the scene. So I feel like Julie is excited, but Charles, on the other hand, I'm 50-50 about.
Going back to Charles, I think Ricky's intentions was good to have the video, but in the reality, his ass should have been practicing, running upstairs. We should have seen, and it could have been cut off.
So Ricky helping him.
You have to, when you're rusty, the one thing that you don't want to do is come to a practice where you haven't had any personal practice by yourself, because you're already going to be tired. This is football and so forth. So I felt like he should have, as soon as he watched that video, he should have got up and he should have took his ass and he should have started running or pushing, doing something while at Ricky's house to get him prepared for the first day of practice.
I totally agree with you, but I put that on Charles, not on Ricky. And again, I apologize if it seems like I drank Ricky's Kool-Aid, because I think that what Ricky did was great. Because I think a big part of not only football, but a big part of sports is mental preparation. Do you know what I mean? Like that you can actually see it. Like any major athlete, when they won a game or an event, and people ask them, like, did you think it was possible? The first thing that they always say is yes, because I envisioned it. Like I literally went through the process of visualizing what it was going to be like to win, what I would have to do to get here. So I felt like Ricky did a great job doing that. The fact that then Charles didn't then immediately go get a coach, that the guy who threw the punch at the end, who was like, oh, you can train with me, he didn't call him, that to me is also... There's a certain aspect of Charles that he's a little bit immature. He's a little bit naive. So just because, dude, you pushed a couple of trucks, you know what I mean, in neutral, and you push one up the ramp, and I'm not negating how important that is, but like, things in neutral on a smooth surface. Like, isn't that what they're supposed to do? That was me being an ass on purpose, so I apologize.
And also, can I co-sign with that? And also, that was 2 weeks ago, homeboy. You got to practice.
That's my point. Do you know what I mean? So the minute you thought that, because that's the way that he got revved up, after pushing the truck up the ramp, like the way he was like, he felt like he was like invincible. Then, dude, just like you said, you should have been doing stairs, you should have been doing drills, you should have been doing all of those things that you needed to do. So the fact that it seems as if the way they're setting it up, that first day of trial practice or whatever it is was the first time in probably 2 years that he's actually even probably hit the gym. No, boo-boo, that's unacceptable.
Sugar tits. I couldn't get over the sugar tits.
And then just one other thing, I also agree that that Julie is not that happy for him playing football.
Well, I'll say, playing football.
I disagree with you on that one. I actually disagree with you on that one. And I think the reason being is, I think she wanted her man back, especially to me in light of the fact that he could have almost cheated. Like, I don't care how secure of a woman you are. If you know you have a good man and your man almost cheats, you're happy to have him back. That's number one. Number two, what you then start to realize is it somewhat had nothing to do with him not necessarily being happy with you. It had to do with him not being happy with himself, right? So to me, him playing ball and potentially being in that environment but not in the fun house while working at a car dealership is very different than him possibly being an athlete again and you being his number one cheerleader, because then as a man, he's less likely to cheat. Does that make sense? Like, to me, boys cheat. Men don't cheat.
The only thing I'll say regarding, so you're saying Julie might not be happy with the
football comeback.
Football.
And I only say that only because although she did try to encourage him, saying that a nickname was a good sign, but once he kind of kept moping and kind of saying it was over, the encouragement somewhat stopped. So then I wonder in my mind, does she really think?
I just don't think she wanted to dwell on it. I think she was trying to move on to the baby news.
Okay.
I'm going to piggyback on what you were saying really quick with Julie not being 100% about the baby, though. The reason I'll say is, yes, for now, it looks like Charles may not be on the up and up with the football thing. And even though he had this little lapse where he went to the fun house and stuff, the thing is, I believe that Charles is going to get back on the team, right?
Completely.
So if he gets back on the team, he already had a taste of this when he was in the league. If he won a Super Bowl and stuff, he's been to parties with hot girls all over the place, so he understands that. Just basing this off of Charles' personality, it seems like he doesn't handle pressure well, right? So with the baby involved and a wife who's a doctor and they have to figure that out, he's not going to be fully available to take care of the baby. He's going to possibly want to find an outlet away from the family, away from the stress of football. And then what is that? Is that somebody else's fun house? Another chick?
That's all terrific storylines.
I'll say that for prediction.
Yeah.
But
I'm taking
go there.
Writers, I'm just saying. Writers, you got two people. They wouldn't mind, having a job in Miami for 6 months. I'm just saying.
We'll be there.
Yeah. Funny thing is, I do it for no pay. I know I shouldn't say that, but really,
all you gotta do
just
is
pay
feed me.
expenses.
Just give me some food. I'll be great.
We can share a sweet. No, really. Sorry, guys, we're a little giggly today. And you know why we're giggly? And we'll go back to it because that last scene. That's why we're giggly.
Yes.
That last scene had me and Emile cracking up. Oh my goodness.
Before we get to that, let's get into this whole Vern, Reg, Spencer thing. So the deal is made. It's done. The pictures, the files, everything has been given back. Angela is adios.
Which I'm still surprised it wrapped up so easily. It just doesn't make sense. Because Cornelia and I were so frustrated last week because we were saying, like, since it was a digital file and it was email, like, it's still in her email sent box. Like, she still has the files. That just bothers me. I think it's going to possibly come back around. Because think about it. Actually, I'm going to say that for predictions. I'm not
But it has to potentially come around because now you got Reg, who then took the girl home, rode in the car.
He's out of line.
Then he unzipped his zip. He done pulled out his little Peckerwood, thinking that she's a hoe and that she
But
was.
also, can I say something?
Go ahead.
Even if she was a hoe, who would want to sleep with him? Now, in real life, we're talking about a whole different situation, okay? But in relationship to the show, like, you ain't even the football player.
Yeah.
What are you, the football player's, like, assistant? I don't even know what your job
What is your
is.
title?
Wait.
So
Can I defend?
go ahead.
You would be surprised how I have to be just blunt. Girls will fuck you because you are affiliated with.
But the difference is she's not no stupid girl. She's a girl who tried to basically take them for $150,000.
But that's-
think about it. So
yeah.
what kind of fufu money you have? No, seriously. She literally basically F them for $150,000.
Right, but I'm saying that he thinks because Vern is the man, he thinks that he can get any girl.
True, but the girl who tried to fleece them for money, who
Is
tried to extort them, you are stupid, dude.
Yeah.
And this
Agreed.
girl slept with Spence, so you don't go from Spence to Reg. I'm just saying. I'm keeping it real.
I need some more.
No,
on that
and
one.
I think also too, and I think that this scene would have played out completely different if Reggie hadn't acted like an asshole. Does it make sense? So the whole thing could have gone a different way, and I could have been like, oh well, yeah, well maybe he thought she was really flirting with him or whatever. But like he just acted like a straight child from the minute Spence got there. Spence wasn't even trying to be like, oh, I'm the man, I'm the man. He just came to inform you. That the deal is done. Now we can move forward with actual, real, proper business. And you want to be like, yo, that only needed a phone call. You didn't need to come over here. What, you think you're the man? If it's your fault to begin with, dude.
And that,
like, haven't we already been over this? And the
Yeah.
fact that Angela wanted to speak directly with Spence, like, get over yourself, dude.
That was totally the right thing to do, to go to him personally. Don't have him come to the office. You go to him, you talk to him, because then had he not acted like an ass,
he wouldn't
then,
have. Spence wouldn't have had to been like, bam.
And then he could say, now we can go forward with the blah 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 blah, and they could potentially, just dumb.
I'm just glad
Yeah.
Reg's true colors finally went, because there was no way to defend himself in that situation. After the Angela situation came out, there's no way to defend.
Completely. And the only thing I'm going to say is I'm mad, and I'm not mad at the writing because I think that that's exactly where the scene should have gone. I'm just mad because I want more from Reggie. Like, I wanted him to actually have a plan. Does that make sense? Meaning, if at the end of the day, even if your intention was to possibly use this as leverage to get Spence out of the way, that wasn't how you play it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? You let it ride. Like, you let it ride and then potentially get the next deal and then set something up. But literally just when Spence is winning, that's not when you highlight, like, that you technically haven't done anything. Because no matter how much Spence may have caused the problem, Spence still solved the problem. Dude, still to this day, what have you done?
And that's the problem. That's why his character is so naive, because in my mind, if I was, even though I'm smarter than the Reggie character, I would think, but in my mind, Reggie knowing that the deal, their actual deal has not been done yet.
You have no money.
Yeah. So why not wait until the deal is done, then figure a way to get Spence out, but at least let him negotiate a proper deal, get all that straight. Then you can get him out of there. But right now, why would you, because the whole genesis of this argument started when he said everything is everything. He's like, oh, you stole my
my God, I
catchphrase.
forgot.
Now you steal my
Yes.
Are you really going to be that petty?
Yeah, but he is. And the
Yeah.
problem is, and even if you think about it, that scene played out like a lover spat. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not actually throwing words to say that, like, Reggie is in love with Vern, so I'm not actually saying that. I'm just saying that the way it played out, because the way he was like, well, you take me for granted and whatever, like, screw you all, whatever, like, that was literally how you do when you break up. Do you know what I mean? Versus a professional setting, what you do is, like, you act like a grown-up and you remove yourself from the situation and then you double back. You don't act in emotion in that moment and basically be like, okay, then screw you. Because, again, what are you going to do? Like, as if you actually have a job outside of me.
But then even Vern pissed me off as far as acting butthurt, because then he's like, what's his name? Spence and his agent said this is time sensitive as far as this deal goes. And he's like, oh, well, I'll do it later.
But that's, I think the problem is that Reggie has set everything up to be so personal. And don't get me wrong, I definitely think that there is a space, especially in sports, to have people in your camp that actually genuinely love you and are more familial than professional. Okay? But at the same time, when it comes down to business, you cannot think emotionally, because at the end of the day, and if you are, the key thing is, so are you willing to potentially not allow yourself to be this marquee player that you want to be? You potentially then are going to give away possibly being the new spokesperson for the NFL. You're possibly going to give away getting the biggest deal that ever has been. Why? Because your pseudo manager, best friend, homeboy, hype man tried to get some head from some girl.
Crazy.
Like, no, see, do you know what I mean? Like, when you break, that's literally what he's mad at. And he's mad because he didn't come back and say, oh, I tried to sleep with her? That don't even make sense. Think about it. So you're supposed to tell your boy every time you try to sleep with some girl? Why? Because she got out and had to take the bus home? That don't make no sense.
I think it does make sense. Although I will say that I would think it come up in some kind of conversation like, yo, that bitch, blah, blah. Like something as homeboys do, like, yo, I had to put this bitch out because something could have, some kind of dialogue could have happened, not the full story, but something to, he could have played his cards right and downplayed it like, yo, this bitch crazy.
No, because think about it. Before that, the deal hadn't been done. So are you going to tell him?
Yeah.
Are you going to tell him that you got her that you basically put her out of your car and the deal's not done?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, he's thinking that's never going to come out. So if the deal hadn't gone through, it would have been on Spencer.
Yeah.
If he had disclosed that information, then basically Vern could have been like, oh, wait a minute, then you messed up the deal. You're the reason why I'm no longer now going to play at Dallas, that so forth and so on and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So neither way.
Bye, Reggie.
Bye.
Yeah. But not really.
Yeah, not really. We want you still.
I do agree that Vern needs to stop acting like a
Child.
wussy with the, with a capital P.
Yeah, and I'm going to say child because
yeah.
I don't like the feminine aspect of that word.
He said, you don't deserve me.
Yeah, we already...
So, speaking of lover spat, there was another one. Joe and Spence.
Their relationship, I really like that.
It's funny.
I really like
do,
their
yes.
relationship. I really like their relationship because Joe was mad.
Yeah.
Pissed.
Yeah. And I
is
mean,
funny. No,
you go.
I was gonna say it's funny seeing him scurry around different doors, like closing. Wait, but don't go to Mr. Anderson.
This is the only thing with Joe that I love and I hate at the same time. I love Joe because he's scrappy. Like, really think about it. Like, even just looking at the video of the party, I was like, yo, Joe was getting it. Like, Joe was really having a good time. And I definitely feel like he's, even the fact that he said he's been at Anderson for 10 years and he's basically, obviously, kind of climbed his way to where he is now. Right. It was his idea to have a sports division and so forth and so on, which on some levels is definitely a really, not only a great thing, but on some levels, I'm not going to say that you can't be a viable financial or a financial management company without a sports division, but I will say you can't be one in Miami. Now think about it. Not only, and we're not only talking about athletes who the team is based in Miami, but from what I know, Miami, I think there's no property tax.
Yeah.
Like there's no property tax and there's no income tax. There's two major taxes that don't exist in the state of Florida. That's why so many athletes, regardless of where they play, have a residence in Florida, specifically Miami, because it actually can save them when you're thinking about contracts of millions and millions of dollars. Any type of a percentage that you get to keep in your pocket is major, right? So to me, that means Joe was forward thinking in terms of the fact that they need to have a sports division, and that in order to have a sports division, it makes sense to have an athlete head the sports division. With all of that said, Joe also, the problem is he's too scrappy, meaning you can't think about leaving without actually making a plan. So his little side comments to Spence, like, oh, well, Coral Gables, there's a lot of space over there. Who cares, dude? Like, you need to literally go through your entire roster. Right. How many people do we have? What are their net worth? What is the likelihood that they're going to stay with us? How much money are we going to make? Do you know what I mean? Like, have you actually looked at facilities? Have you actually looked at your contract? And can you actually go set up your own shop? Because Old Man Anderson don't seem like he plays. So trust me, in your contract, there's a no-compete clause. You cannot leave. You cannot take your clients. So I need Joe to kind of be a little bit more businessman-like and not so, oh, my God, I'm hurt because Old Man Anderson basically punked you like a child. Because that's what he did. He was like, oh, you can go home for the day. Like when you get sent home from like whether or not the principal sends you to the principal's office or suspends you for the day, or like at work when they're like, you're not wearing the right clothes or something and you have to go home. Okay, cool, dude. Like, you shouldn't have made a joke when you made a joke. It's a really big deal. Go home, come back. You're lucky you weren't fired. So I need him to be less scrappy and more more pragmatic and actually have a game plan. So if the long-term goal is for him and Spence to set up their own shop, I need to have faith that he can actually do that and he can execute it properly and not just be Joe Kreitel, I think if that was his last name, like Old Man Anderson said. Like, he's like, you're a pain in my butt. I need him to be less a pain in someone's butt and more someone's pain in their butt because you actually are winning.
Well said.
I have nothing else to say about that. Now, Spence now decides to finally have this conversation that has been eating them up with Dan. Do you think that he went about the situation wrong as far as?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And I understand the nature of the situation. It would be difficult to approach Dan, because in his mind, he ruined this man's life. So I understand that. However, if you are finally going to have the balls to go or get in contact with this man, first of all, I would think he could be man enough to reach out to him and say, Dan, I know we haven't talked in a long time. In fact, we haven't talked since that incident. I want to have a conversation with you. Don't blindside, as Dan said, don't blindside him by calling his company saying, I'm requesting Dan, fake an accident that you can tell was faked, bring him there, and then just be like, oh, hey, what's up? Like, are you serious? It just rubbed me completely the wrong way. I mean, it was cool for TV to see like him in the car, like, oh, I like this song too. Oh, you have kids. Like, it's cool seeing him interact, but it bothered me the way he went about it, because it bothered me, but like Sophia was talking about with Julie's character, it definitely seemed organic to Spencer's character, because he seems like a pussy in a lot of, or a scaredy cat in a lot of ways.
And I think it showed almost very similar to Reggie's character, how we keep talking about a lack of evolution. I think it's ironic. And is her name Teresa?
Who?
His girlfriend, Spencer's girlfriend. I somehow always forget her name, the reporter. So someone please tell us on Twitter or on YouTube what her name is. I completely apologize that I can't remember her name. But how she basically says, I'm amazed that Spencer, you're actually changing. Like, you're actually evolving. I actually don't think he is. I think he's still the wannabe star, narcissistic, selfish, asshole, dirty player he's always been. And I think that's what he did, because instead of this is the thing is, if you actually think you hurt someone, which he basically said he intentionally hurt the guy, that was his intention, right? When you apologize, you're not apologizing for you, you're apologizing for the other person.
Exactly.
So how the person receives it, like, isn't isn't what you should be thinking about. So if someone's like, oh, well, I'm afraid that they're not going to accept my apology or whatever, that actually is irrelevant. What you need to do is very selflessly basically be like, I am sorry for what I did, or I'm sorry that even though my intention was to hurt you, I'm sorry that the result of it was so egregious.
Right.
And then you leave it at that. And if the guy wants to punch you, he gets to punch you. If the guy wants to be like, I don't want to talk to you, he doesn't need to talk to you. Spencer made it not only all about Spencer, but Spencer also made it all about Spencer in terms of like, I need to also still stand up on an ego perspective. So not only do you mess up your car, but you have to have him call out in your white Range Rover. So do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's not even like you could basically be like, okay, cool, like, you go in there and maybe in like how we came in the baseball game in like your normal clothes, whatever. But you again have to come in your $5,000 custom Italian suit, call him to come basically pick you up to tow your car. So again, to tow your car.
Oh, and don't forget what he said. I want to throw you some business.
Like, I'm amazed that dude just didn't like clock him just for the sake of it. And the fact that he didn't, I think, shows that this guy has actually evolved and this guy's actually matured. And I think his ability to recognize who he was and that he really was a great college player and was never actually going to be a great pro player, and that basically the hit was like a mercy killing. I hope that what is going to happen is, I hope that instead of Spence no longer having nightmares, I hope Spence has new nightmares. Because the difference is, what it showed to me is, this man's happy. This man has a wife that loves him, a kid that loves him, and despite the fact that when he got his big chance to like redeem himself and stand in the sun, he like basically like clocked someone in the balls. But he still thought that was great, because once they started booing him and he put his hands up, everyone started cheering. And to me, what that symbolized is how fickle the masses are. Think about it. It shows that the masses don't love you. I don't care how much they're cheering and how much they whatever. It means that they don't actually love you. Because all he had to do was put up his hands again, basically telling them, cheer, and they all cheered. So, Spence, who are you? Just because everyone knows your name and everyone's like, oh, yeah, Spence, and oh, I know him and whatever, what does it really mean? Because at the end of the day, what do you have?
I took the applause in two different ways. Okay. I took it your way also, but also one of the things that he said was that not once he says that he was on 6 teams in 8 years. He was chasing something that it was never meant to get, and not once did anyone ever applaud him or cheer him when he was playing football. Yeah. And so for me, I felt 50-50 when he actually threw the ball, and at first he got the boo. He was like, this is my moment. I don't care what people say. He raised his hands, and then the fact that they cheered, now he could rest assured that he got one of the things that he wanted when he played football.
Oh, I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Oh, I completely agree with you. And I think my point though goes more to Spence and the rest of them and not to him. Mm-hmm. Does it make sense? Because I think he actually is very honest about the fickleness of the fan base. Mm-hmm. He's just saying, I just want it. Yeah. The difference is, I think that they're actually not admitting that that's what they're playing for. So even think about it. When Troy was here, Troy spoke about the fact that during the in between the lines, the documentary, that basically one of the things that athletes miss is the camaraderie, right? Mm-hmm. Part of also what they miss is, and he didn't say this, but I to me, there's no way they don't also miss this. They do miss the cheering. They miss that adulation. They miss that people, you know what I mean? How they even said, like, people now want Ricky Jared's jersey that says 18, fuck you, dad. Yeah. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. They miss that. But also, if you think about what has probably happened in the last year with certain NFL athletes, the fan base is fickle. Mm-hmm. So they don't really love you. They just love whoever is in that spot, in that jersey, running that play, getting that touchdown at that exact moment. That's who they love.
That's exactly.
Do you know what I mean? It really only plays when you think about it. Because, again, let's think. Who are the only athletes that we still know and we still talk about when they're not playing?
Michael Jordan.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Well,
there's a couple others.
Do you know what I mean? There's a couple others. Do you know what I mean? Magic Johnson, so forth and so on. But that's because he made a name for himself. Do you know what I mean? As a philanthropist and as a business person, separate and distinct from that.
But yeah, you're right. But it's very hard, and it's very hard in 21st century, 2015, to be an individual athlete where you have a brand yourself, like Serena and some other people.
Exactly.
But if you are just a football player who's had 10 touchdowns in the season.
And even think about it, and this is what I think is messed up. Even let's think about Tiger Woods. Mm-hmm. Tiger Woods arguably is one of the best golfers in the history of golf. He changed the nature of the game. Mm-hmm. The fact that I, Sofia Stanley, am talking about a golfer shows that the game has changed. I didn't watch golf or care about golf before Tiger Woods came into the arena. However, him simply losing the last couple of years, people literally now are talking about him as if he never won what he had won.
Yeah,
simply because he's not winning now.
Yeah.
We sometimes, as the masses, are fickle. If you're not winning in the exact moment, we no longer love you.
Now, Spencer thinks that he is on the Michael Jordan, LeBron James level, because look at him when he walked into the stadium. Had on his little tight muscle sweater. Everyone's looking at him. Hi. You know, the applause that you. So Spence, the reason that he can't evolve is because he's living in a world. He's living in a world where he is like. No, I can't call him Michael Jordan, but you get what I'm saying.
He hasn't changed. He's still living in that limelight. But I think,
he's still getting the accolades.
But the difference, though, is he's still in Miami.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like with any athlete from your city, even if the masses are fickle, you still have your diehard fans in the city. Yeah. Like there's certain baseball players in the Atlanta Braves where I'm like, oh, John Smoltz, I ride or die for him for life. And I haven't watched baseball in years, but I always remember John Smoltz. Mm-hmm. So he just got into the Hall of Fame a couple of months ago, or maybe a couple of weeks ago, and everybody went crazy because they're the diehard fans. But he's not a name where if you say it, everyone's like, oh yeah, John Smoltz. Like nobody out here is going to care. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where Spencer's in Miami, so he still gets those accolades, but it goes back to what both of you are saying. He's not growing because he's still in that environment. Same with Ricky. Ricky can't grow because Bella keeps coming around. In order for these people to grow, we need to see them go outside of these environments, and hopefully we'll see some change.
Exactly. Because the worst thing is, as of now, Spence isn't monetizing that. Hey, Spence. Hey, Spence. Hey, Spence. Think about it. He's still broke.
Yeah.
Broke.
So what do you think
I mean,
so you mentioned that now you think that he may have even more nightmares of the opposite?
funny thing is, I actually don't think that's where it's going to go, because it's somewhat not organic to his character. Actually, no, I take that back. I feel like he has to. The fact that he's basically going back to a doctor to try to basically have her talk to him means he has no one to talk to. And that's why she's like, dude, this ain't my job. Like, nut up and go talk to the dude.
Yeah.
And even the way he was like, oh, watch your language. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, grow up.
Yeah, I love he just walked out the door. Okay.
But I think it has to, because I think that there would have been no. Yes, there was a point in showing that this guy is well-rounded and has a family, but I still feel like they had to go that extra step to show what Spence doesn't have. As well as the fact that going back, and I think, what was it, maybe 3-4 episodes, the fact that when Reggie brought up that Spence is adopted or whatever he is, Spence doesn't have a family, meaning like a parental family. So to me, just being like doing my own little pop psychology, someone who doesn't have a family, then that is the most important thing. So similar even to Reggie, in terms of Ricky, when Ricky's basically saying, like, I basically do this, like, fuck you, dad. No, really what it's doing is he's basically playing for the love of his dad. He never had the love of his dad, so basically all of this is what he's seeking is the love of his dad. Spencer, same thing. Spencer never had a family, so at the end of the day, all of these accolades and all of these fans is a substitution for a family he never had, so his end goal is family. So to me, that has to then be the new nightmare, is I'm alone, I'll always die alone, do people really love me for me, yada, yada, yada.
Do you think this is the end of the Dan story? Do you think?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It had a nice bow on it. I mean, again, he threw the ball in the guy's crotch.
That was hilarious.
And everyone
hilarious.
booed. And I mean, me and Emile literally, as he gave him the ball, and when Spence is like, oh, don't mess this up, both me and E were like, don't mess this up. Like, we were like, I was squeamish in my chair.
Well, because the scene before they was talking about, like, I never had a touchdown, I never was in a playoff game, I started tearing up.
Me too.
I was sad. Like, I felt sorry for the dude, so I really wanted him to have that moment. And so I was thinking they were going to give him that moment. We didn't get it. Like, I couldn't stop laughing. That shit was hilarious.
No, it was the perfect end scene. Not only to this episode, but I think it was like the perfect ending to the episode right before the finale.
Yeah.
Because again, he threw the ball at the person's crotch. Like, not even the pitcher's crotch. Like, the reporter on the sidelines, meaning, look, I don't even know where you were aiming, and it still ended in cheers and applause. It was perfect.
But did you peep? Did you just peep how hard it was and how the boy just hit the
Because he put some heat on it. He should have been like, but direction right there, straight at the catcher.
And he was so off. I mean, okay.
Yeah, but I couldn't have done it either, so I'm not even going to try to pretend.
Let's go to predictions now.
I would have done the underhand toss.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
For me, I think my prediction earlier, I was talking about Julie and Charles. I think that Julie or Charles is going to possibly stray again once. This might be more for season 2, though. But I think he's going to eventually possibly stray again once the pressures of being a father and the pressure of football and the pressure of his wife. I don't think he can handle pressure very well. And I think that that's going to play out in a negative way that can possibly impact his marriage. Because we've seen their marriage is all lovey-dovey right now. I just don't think it's going to last.
My prediction is regarding Spencer. Spencer is going to have to man up in the finale on a lot of things. I think Spencer's going to have to take a hard look at himself and say how much of the Spencer flashy persona is helping him and how much of it is hurting him. And I definitely think that there's going to be a test of loyalty, and whether or not that loyalty is to Vern or whether or not that loyalty is to Joe. I definitely think it's going to have to be an issue of loyalty, and he's going to really have to decide what does his future business prospects look like, and how much does he value the fact that Joe brought him into this situation, and whether or not he's going to be ride or die with Joe, or whether or not he basically is in essence going to stand on his own 2 feet and really kind of embrace this business and start to really understand what it is that he needs to do to be successful beyond simply being Spence Strathmore.
My prediction was wrong as far as who Ricky's dad is. We saw a clip in the preview, and he's a veteran actor. He's not a football player. So I was predicting that they would have brought back, one of those old school football players from the 80s.
Yes, I did forget you said that.
It wasn't him. So I was wrong about that. But I'm curious to see where this thing is going to go with Ricky and his dad. I think that the relationship that we love so much is going to then show signs of falling apart for Charles and Julie. And I think that's it for my predictions. So we want to thank you guys for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV for Ballers. Let everyone know where you could be found on social media.
For me, at Emile Ennis Jr. on YouTube, Chasing LA.
At Sofia Stanley, Twitter and Facebook. At the Sofia Stanley on Instagram.
And you can find me on social media at Bamm Ericsen. Thank you guys for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV for Ballers. We will see you guys next week for the season 1 finale. Bye-bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.